for years and years and years, I did not show up on LinkedIn, and I also didn't show up on my personal Facebook. 50% of my business now comes from that Facebook channel. If you don't find coming up with content ideas easy, it's because you don't know your ideal client well enough.
You cannot hit a personal best in every single session.
I was so fucking beige. It was getting me nowhere. What happens if I hit success and then lose it all?
You cannot hit a personal best in every single session.
That you need to be leading from the front.
Okay, guys, welcome back to Unfuck Your Flow and Take Action. This is the podcast for ambitious business women who want to create a life and business with freedom, flexibility, and flow. But, perhaps without the procrastination, the overwhelm, and the shiny object syndrome. I'm Alice Dartnell, time and energy management coach, speaker, author, and founder of the Business by Design community. And today we have a special guest with us in the form of Amy, which I am super, super excited for, because Amy, well, first of all, I was at Amy's event last week. So at the time of recording this, I was at Amy's event last week, and her Content Live event was absolutely epic, but so was Amy's session. And also, I have the absolute privilege of Amy being a keynote speaker at my event, the Big Business Breakthrough event. Now, by the time this podcast comes out and is in your ears, we will have done the event. So go check it out on socials, because you're going to get FOMO. But because I saw Amy at her event, I know she has got so much gold to share. So I'm so excited about the Big Business Breakthrough event, but even more excited because, Amy, you're in the hot seat today. We have got you sharing your wisdom on buyer's type, which we will get to into this podcast. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be speaking at your event. I can't believe it's literally in like 10 days time or something mad. It's come around so quick. But yeah, it's going to be great. So excited.
So for those listening that do not know yet who you are, can you give us a quick little intro? Who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Yes, I can absolutely do that. So hello everybody, my name is Amy Atkinson, and I am very, very quickly a serial entrepreneur. So I've got a digital marketing agency, I've got my coaching and training business called the Femtrepreneur, and I also have a property investment firm with my other half, which is lots of fun at the moment with all of the new rulings coming into place, but we are not here to talk about that. In a nutshell, I help you make more sales from your social media. So that is me.
Yeah, I love that. And that is exactly why we've got you today, because this podcast is all about unfucking your flow and taking action. That is what my job as a time management coach, working with busy, ambitious business women, is all about. And let's be real, like, one of the biggest blockers that I see isn't people's amazingness or their expertise in what they do. The biggest blocker when it comes to women in business is often this whole like social media, selling, like it's just a blocker that I see all the time. So Amy, let's just dive straight into it. Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think is contributing to this? Like, what's getting in the way of us business women? Like, we're not short of ideas, we've got our brilliance, we're great at what we do, and then we get stuck on the social media and selling bit.
So there could be a few things, but I'm going to talk about just a couple of them, because I feel that of these two, people will resonate with probably one or the other, if not both. So for years and years and years, I did not show up on LinkedIn, and I also didn't show up on my personal Facebook. And if I really thought about that, the reason why was because I was so incredibly worried about what other people thought. So for some of you will have heard this story if you've come across me before, some of you won't have done, but one of the reasons I didn't show up on LinkedIn was because in my personal life, up until working for this particular company, I had always been told to, shh, Amy, stop being too loud. Shh, Amy, don't do this, don't say that. Or be a bit more ladylike, Amy. All of the, you're getting these things, you're getting these cues, you're getting these sentences from people you really respect, from people that are like family figures in your life, friends that are in your life. And what that does is it shapes you. What then happens, so if we fast forward quite a few years when I was working at this company, and they are a massive company. So they are in the FTSE 10. So they are one of the top 10 companies in terms of turnover in the UK. So a massive company. And I went into work one day wearing a dress that was like off the shoulders and tight fitting. And the reason I'm giving you that context is because it's not the sort of thing you probably should be wearing. And when I say should, I say that very loosely now, in the corporate environment. But I thought, oh, sod it. Actually, I can swear, can't I? Because the whole podcast is a swear word.
I mean, the podcast is called Unfuck Your Flow, mate.
Yeah,
so just have you feel.
So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to wear this dress, because I was going out after work and I couldn't be asked to carry another outfit. And it was a Friday, I think, or a Thursday, and Thursday's the new Friday, or certainly was pre-COVID, like years before COVID. But anyway, this bloke who was married with children, I would say he was probably late 40s, early 50s at the time, messaged me on the internal system, and he was like, that dress would look good on my hotel room floor. And that, honestly, gross. But what was the worst part of that was I surreptitiously, because he only sat like 4 rows away from me. He could see exactly what I was doing. I surreptitiously showed it to one of my male colleagues, and he said, you cannot tell anyone about this, Amy, you'll lose your job. Because the bloke he was basically like the right-hand man for the CEO of this massive company. So he was like, do not say anything. You're going to have to just take that on the chin. And so my response to him was, because I didn't know what the fuck to do. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to like rock the boat. But the point is that I done something that was not normal for me to do. And it just made me think, I can't even wear figure hugging things anymore. I can't show up or shout about things up on social media and on LinkedIn. What if he saw it? What if he commented? What if he like slid into my DMs and said something very similar? I just freaked out. And I think if anyone is completely honest with themselves, we can use so many different reasons why we're not showing up on social media, why we're not consistent with social media, whether it's because, I don't have the time, or I just hate it. I hear that so much. I just hate it. But why? Have you ever thought about why do you hate it? Because if you are anything like me, where you aren't visible, and the reason you're not wasn't visible was because you're so worried about what people thought, why are you letting those people change the trajectory of your business? The moment I started showing up on LinkedIn, the moment that I started showing up on my personal Facebook, because I felt comfortable on Instagram because he was never going to be there. I felt comfortable on Instagram versus my personal Facebook because there was no one in my family that was following me on Instagram. Whereas all of my personal Facebook friends, my family were there, my friends were there. What happens if? It just constantly went through my mind. And what is now happening, by the way, I only joined Facebook personally. When I say joined it, I was obviously on Facebook, but I didn't start posting from a business point of view until September last year. And I really got out of my own way. 50% of my business now comes from that Facebook channel. That is how powerful it is in terms of your turnover. You could hugely be affecting what your business could look like, all because of what those people think, and they are not paying your bills. So that'll be my first thing, is really think, why do I hate it? Why do I find it so hard? Why is it that I'm not coming up with ideas? The other reason is coming up with ideas. And a lot of people, when they're starting their business, they lean into working with coaches, they lean into working with business mentors. And one of the first things that those coaches and business mentors are going to say is, you need to niche down. You need to understand your ideal client. And honestly, if you don't find coming up with content ideas easy, it's because you don't know your ideal client well enough. And you aren't going into as much detail as you need to when it comes to your ideal client and the content that is going to resonate with them. So, for example, if you have got an adjective that you are using to describe your ideal client, what I want you guys to do is think, okay, so my ideal client is busy. What are they busy doing? What does that mean for them? Why is that affecting them? Why is that going to change their life if they're no longer busy. Whatever is relevant for you, your business, your ideal client, you can probably come up with about 30 to 50 different ways, reasons, meanings of that one adjective. That is 30 to 50 different bits of content.
Yeah.
It really is that simple.
There's so much that you've just said there that I want to unpick. So the first of all, like sharing your story about the dress, totally resonate with that. Not because I've had an exact similar experience, but I'm a corporate girl as well, and some of the shit that like gets said to you, it does just make you fucking eye roll. I think sometimes, even if you don't realise you're taking it on, subconsciously you do.
Yeah.
I think that's the dangerous thing with it, isn't it? Because you log this information. The brain is designed to keep you safe. So the brain, even if it's not a logical awareness, the brain is going, right, well, we better not wear that dress again because I don't want unwanted attention. And I'm the one that's going to get fired if this goes beyond this internal messenger because, you know, power position or whatever. And I definitely had experiences in corporate where too loud, you know, I get told I'm too loud, it's not ladylike to do X, you know, don't do Y, and even things to the point where I was quite a young manager and comments would be made about like, you know, how does your team feel about being managed by a woman? And assuming that I'm the secretary and asking for a cup of tea, and I'm like, oh no, I'm head of the department, mate, and I'm chairing the meeting. And it's just that constant battle, and it gets tiring. And I think even if you don't consciously sit there and go, oh, I think my block on being on LinkedIn is because like back in 2020 this happened, like subconsciously you're taking it on. And I shared this quite recently actually, right at the end of January actually, because it was just as I was coming out of an event. And I was thinking like, what's going to hold me back this year? You know, when you're doing your January goal setting and all that. So I'm doing my goal setting, but I'm also thinking about what's the shit that's going to hold me back this year. And I don't know why, but it suddenly came to me. I was like, you are scared to be seen by your ex. Not that he follows me on socials, but obviously when you are a business, you are out there, your brand's out there, anyone could come like Google you. And I suddenly realised I had this subconscious block of being seen by him because he would take credit for what was going on and the success and, you know, that kind of thing. And for me, it was because when he left, he did it in such a brutal way. I think that's the thing that for me was like the way he did it, not what he did. And he was so nonchalant about it because he was like, yeah, but you're strong, you're resilient, you'd be all right. So I think subconsciously I was like, well, don't be okay, because then, you know, if you are all right, you're proving him right. When he'll be like, well, I told you you'd be fine. So I did this like releasing exercise. And then 2 days later, I bumped into the fucker, literally on a train. Bear in mind, I'd not seen him for 4 years. And I was like, well, there you go, universe. But it was a huge release of like, literally that fear of being seen by him. And I was totally right, because he did make comment about the fact that, oh, you know, well, it's all because of me, like your success. And you're like, oh, whatever, mate. But it kind of confirmed what obviously I was thinking and feeling subconsciously. So I never consciously sat down and go, I'm going to write a social media post today. Actually, no, I'm not, because I'm really worried about my ex-husband of 4 years ago seeing me. It was so fucking subconscious. And I think, like you say, we don't realise that. So we need to ask ourselves why. Like, why is it we hate showing up on social media? Or like, actually, what is it? Like, what is the actual why? I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and I do really believe that women especially, sorry men, but women especially, we are so fucking good at being self-reflective. But that is also so powerful, because once you've got that awareness, you can then be like, thank you very much, that's a mindset monkey, that's a story I'm telling myself, and therefore you can move on and you can be like, I'm gonna take that thought, but I'm not gonna let it stop me.
Yeah, it's so true, because as soon as I did that and released it and was like, oh my God, what is that fucking baggage that I'm holding back? I ended up having my best quarter ever. Yeah. And you're like, you know, and I don't think it's any surprise. So, yeah, I love that. So yeah, I think there's those blocks, isn't it, of like showing up, you know, what's the why? It could be like a story like we've got. But I also think as well, like, it's that authenticity as well, isn't it? Like, you know, maybe you are showing up on social media, but you're not being your true you. You're masking maybe a little bit, dulling it down a little bit, don't want to be too spicy, better not say an F word in case I upset people. And then you're not being authentic. And then I think that shows through as well.
Yeah, 100% can relate to this because my dad, love him to pieces, swears like a trooper. So me naturally is quite a swearer, and my husband hates it, my mum hates it, my grandparents hate it. Like everyone who feels like it's the wrong thing to do absolutely hates it. So for a long time, I didn't swear. I didn't fully relax. I didn't be silly. I didn't be loud. I didn't be
Yeah.
I didn't muck around. And I was a bit like corporate version of Amy, not swearing and not doing anything fun. I mean, I was so fucking beige. It was it was getting me nowhere. And the moment I realised, you know what, it's safe and okay to be yourself, to do silly things like if I mess up my words, because who gives a flying fuck if you mess up your words? I just go like this, and people are laughing at you when you do stuff like that, because it means that you're actually getting the information out that you want to, yes, but in a way that is actually well and truly you. People are going to resonate with that. People are going to love that. People are going to feel like, oh my God, that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. And also, to be honest, I don't think I would connect with anyone if they were like perfectly polished, because no one's perfect. So if somebody was too scripted, I don't know, that wouldn't land with me. But I guess then it goes back to what you're saying about knowing your ideal client, because one of my arguments to my family who tell me off for swearing too much, where they're like, oh, you're going to put clients off, and I'm like, if they're going to get upset because I've said the F-bomb in a social media post, they're probably not my client, because there's no way I could do an hour's worth of coaching and not drop an F-bomb. So I'm going to offend them at some point anyway, so you might as well just find that out straight away from Instagram.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And I also think the other thing is that people make the assumption that, say they wanted to work with corporates, that they have to be like the corporate version of themselves. But actually, again, there are humans that work in corporates, and they are going to learn so much better from someone who's well and truly themselves, even in the corporate environment.
Yeah, I love it's absolutely, they say like being beige doesn't get you anywhere. Like, we need to make that in mind.
No one wants to be beige.
Yeah, no one wants the vanilla. So what do you think some of the limiting beliefs are as well, especially as business women? Because I see that a lot as well when it comes to social media and selling and showing up.
I think even if I just reflect on some of my limiting beliefs and on top of some of the client stuff, is if I tell this story, am I going to piss that person off? So, for example, let's say I've said to one of my clients, you need to be talking about that client. What I'm not saying is you need to say their name and their bra size and exactly what date they worked with you and exactly what date they spoke to you, because yes, there are some people who coach and mentor or work with people in a capacity where you literally can't say anything in terms of calling somebody out, but you can talk about their journey, and you can call them client X or you can call them client C, and that's the beginning of their name. There's a way you can anonymize it. And actually, if you do so don't get me wrong, I have had people in my DMs, and then I have then reframed the objections that they have had in my DMs, and I have pissed them off. And they have then said, I don't want to work with you, actually. And do you know what? The best thing about that is that I can remember at the time, this has happened twice, thinking, I just don't know if this person is the right client for me. They are really like asking so many different questions that are so irrelevant to the thing. But I'm going to be like, okay, I'll appease them. And then when I did that, and they were like, actually, I don't want to work with you, that post was clearly about me. And actually, what was funny about that is that whilst I had a similar conversation with that person, the post was actually about a conversation I'd had maybe 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
So it was never about them in the first place.
That's the little side note, though. That's the thing about your ideal client, because the amount of times I've had somebody say, oh my God, I feel like you're speaking directly to me. Yeah, of course you do, because you're my ideal client. So obviously I'm talking about procrastination, overwhelm, ADHD. So you are resonating with it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So then if they decide not to work with you, that is also a good thing too, because you've got to cut out the people that aren't going to be perfect for you. So I've lost my train of thought. You asked me limiting beliefs. That was it. Right. Close the loop, Amy. So, you know, if you're ever worried about putting something out there and upsetting people, actually that's a good thing. Upset the people that you want to like, that don't want to work with you, because they're never going to be your ideal clients anyway. Other limiting beliefs that I've come across are, what happens if I hit success and then lose it all? Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Like, what if I can't sustain it or maintain it?
Yeah, same.
Oof. Yeah.
And one of the things that I would say about that is, well, guess what? You've done it once, so you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again, because you've proven to yourself that you can do it, and it will never be as hard as the first time, because you know what to do. You just do it again.
Do you know what? A little side note, and I don't know what your take on this, but I remember my PT, this is many, many years ago, my PT said you cannot hit a personal best in every single session. And I think the perfectionist type person, I'm very naturally like all or nothing perfectionist type, that really hit a nerve for me, because it's fucking true. And I think I am one of these perfect people that I do strive for bigger and better all the time, but you can't do it every single day. So over time, you're getting bigger and better or stronger or whatever. But it's not going to be like that every single day. There's going to be ups and downs, especially with business. So as long as the trajectory is in the right way, you probably are going to have little dips along the way, aren't you? So that's okay. And I think that's something to remember, that you might have the best fucking quarter of your life, and then the next quarter dips and you think, oh my God, well, I'm not cut out for this. I'll just jack it all in. But actually, consistency would be go, well, that's a natural dip because it's Christmas or whatever. And then the next quarter is going to be better. And that's what creates the progress. So this is actually why I'm a little bit anti-consistency, because it makes you feel like it has to constantly be the same or bigger and better all the time. But like my personal trainer said, you can't hit a PB all the time.
And ultimately, control what you can control. So you can control your consistent behaviour to create the results. The results will never be consistent. So that's like what you're saying, right? But if you start behaving differently, and I say that loosely because you obviously need to not do the same thing over and over again if it's not working, but if you start behaving differently, like holding back, slowing yourself down, if you've had a crap quarter or you've had a crap week or you've had a crap month, you're actually going to create like this self-fulfilling prophecy where nothing is going to continue to work, because you're not actually putting the work in order to create the results the following month or the following 90 days.
Yeah, and that, I think that can be a bit of a thing, can't it? I've definitely seen that relating to what you're saying, like, oh God, how can I maintain and sustain this? And, you know, I'm going to lose it. You have, say, like a really good quarter, the next quarter you don't, so then you think, I can't do this, I'm not cut out for it. So then, because you've just fucked your mindset and your identity, and you probably then are less motivated, you're not going to do the actions, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're not doing the thing that got you the good quarter or the good result. And now you've just become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, interesting. Well, your clients, and I know this because at your event, you did share some of your client success stories. So one of them, for example, I think was Hannah, and she had doubled her sales without ads. She'd had some viral launches. She's sold out a program, and this superwoman has 3 kids under 6 as well. So as someone who doesn't have children, I'm just like, how the fuck do you do it? So obviously you know your shit, you know what you're talking about. Your clients are getting epic results. So I know you know your stuff, and I one of the things that I loved about what you were sharing at your event at Content Live is this thing called buyer types. And I think a lot of us don't actually understand that. And I think if we did, we could then use that to serve us in how we show up, how we sell, and how we show up on social media. So what is a
I love that question. Buyer type, so every single one of us buys in a certain way. So there are 5 different buyer types. You've got the action buyer, the logical buyer, the emotional buyer, the social buyer, and the fear-based buyer. And everyone's thinking, cool, what the fuck does that mean? So if I just like really briefly explain it, the action buyer, they are the people that they see something, they resonate with it, they're like led by that person, they're fully in, they make a decision really fucking quickly. They will be in somebody's DMs, or they'll see that person at an event and they'll just jump in. They're very quick action takers. by the way, when I'm talking through these, one of the things that I really recommend that you guys do is listen, because you will be one or maybe a blend of two of these buyer types. You will naturally create content based on the buyer type or types that you are. So if you are, and in terms of the world, it is a very even split. So there's 20%, 20%, 20%, blah, 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 blah. If you're missing out three or four of the buyer types, you're potentially missing out on 60 to 80% of your sales. Anyway, so that was the action buyer. But the logical buyer, so these people need all of the information. They need to know exactly what is going to be and when. They want to know dates. They want to know call length. They want to know how many calls, how much training. They want to know what space is it in. They want to know what the bonuses are. They want to know what the values are. They want to know what the end results are. They need the proof. They need everything, these guys. So the sort of way that a logical buyer would buy is probably from a sales page, but they're not necessarily going to have a conversation with you to get that sales page information. So if you don't have on your stories every now and then a link to include that, or a link in your bio, or a link like an automated ManyChat type scenario thing set up, you're going to miss these guys out, because they need the information before they're ready to buy. They're not even going to speak to you beforehand. Then you've got the emotional buyer. So these guys need to feel held. They need to feel seen. They need to feel like they're an important person in your life. So these guys, if you aren't saying, I've got you, or examples of how your ideal client was feeling perhaps, and then where they feel now, or what you've done with them, you're going to miss these guys out. They are very like emotion led. Then you've got the social buyer, and these people buy because other people are jumping in. They buy because of FOMO. They buy because of offers. So again, if you are creating content that is always about the offers, always about the bonuses, that's great for the social buyer, but you're missing out the emotional buyer. You might pick up the logical buyer if you've got all of the other information, but do you start to see how these are all quite different in terms of what they need to make a decision? And then lastly, the fear-based buyer. So these guys, they're kind of a mix of everything, but they are very happy to share with you that they have tried this before. They're scared about that. This is what has happened in the past. That thing didn't work. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone or something exactly like what you offer. So if I think about quite a lot of my clients who are in the healthcare sector, their options for their clients is to work with someone like them. It could also be to work with an actual therapist, like a psychotherapist. It could also be to go to their GP. So if you're not calling this out, this information of what other people have done in the past, you're not going to be then speaking to the fear-based buyer, because they need that reassurance that you're different.
Yeah, I love that. As soon as you're saying that, I resonate with it so much, because obviously at the moment we are down to the last few tickets of the Big Business Breakthrough event, and I instantly was like, I've done nothing to speak to the logical buyer. I am an emotional type action buyer, and I haven't done anything to share what the content on the day. So I said who the speakers are and stuff, but I haven't said like this is the exact content and these are the workshops that I'm running. I've not even actually told all the graphics and all the posts. I've actually just realised I haven't done any of my workshops. I'm doing 2 on the day, so I've done fuck all. And it actually occurred to me the other day when I was looking at like the last final bits of marketing, and I was like, so that is definitely a learning I'm going to take on for my ADHD event in November, especially as when I did the focus group for it a couple of days ago, one of the people said, because I said, what would make you buy this event? And one of them said, I need to know the workshops. I need to know what the workshops are and who's speaking at them. And I was like, logical buyer. Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? Whereas then I've had some people where I've just literally gone, oh my God, I'm so excited about my event, Big Business Breakthrough event, 50 ambitious business women coming together, and they're like, sounds amazing, sign me up. just
and that's a social buyer right there.
Yeah.
You've shared the excitement and you've shared the other people going.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. Like I'm already just seeing with that one example of my event. That's just one thing that I do. But even things like my networking, again, it's the clues, I guess, in the title. Networking. It must be networking, but a little bit different. And also, if you know me, you'll also be probably thinking, well, she's not going to do it in the traditional sense. And I think, therefore, that's probably getting your actions, your emotionals, your social, maybe even your fear. Maybe your fear ones that are going, oh, I tried BNI and I didn't like it. But again, I'm not approaching the logical buyer because I've totally forgotten there to say, this is the 3-part structure that we'll be doing. I mean, admittedly, I did do it on my landing page. So like you say, send people to that link and it's clearly there. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because if somebody sends me too much information, the ADHD dyslexic brain in me goes, fuck that shit, I'm not reading that.
Yeah.
Voice note me. So I've now started
Same. Yeah.
doing both and saying to people, here's the landing page, or here's the 28-page sponsorship package details, but also here's a 5-minute voice note because you might not be able to read that. So yeah, we're all different.
Yeah, and so I'm an action buyer, maybe the same as you.
Yeah.
Which basically means if you give me too much information, I'm like, fucking dead, mate. I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't need to know. I just want to know how much it is, what's the end result, am I going to get the ROI, bish bash bosh, I'm in.
Yeah. So interesting, isn't it? So yeah, I really hope people listening to this really take away that actually, not only is this going to serve you in your sales, but I think this could also help you in how you're showing up. So the people that are getting a little bit blocked on content, okay, well, maybe you have one bit of content, but you just get ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to tweak it and go, right, make this into an action buyer or make this into a fear-based style of content or whatever. So yeah, even that could just be a little thing to unblock yourself and get going. I think this is so interesting, and hopefully as well, people can already see by looking at those different buyer types, number one, perhaps where they're falling down, like myself, but also inspiration for more content, but also to go, right, that's the thing that I'm going to do now to make that tweet, to unfuck my flow, get visible, get up there, start showing up and selling. Do you have any golden tips that you give your clients that you can share with us very sneakily that's going to help us show up, shine, sell, and be on social media?
I think I'm just going to summarize some of the things that we've talked about today, because when you understand your ideal client and you're talking not to the adjectives but to the depth of what that adjective actually means to them, your content is going to shift dramatically. The next thing is, once you've got that level of detail and you're showing up with that authenticity of, yes, being yourself, but also being unapologetically, assertively yourself, so strong in what it is that you truly believe, and you're saying to people like, you're feeling this, you're doing this, like, get them to take some accountability. Because if you start saying things like, we as women are la la la, you're putting yourself in the same bracket. You want to be, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, if you're a consultant, like, speaking of the action buyer, they need a leader.
It's and like so that authority.
If you're creating content that is sort of like making somebody feel better about being where they are, by putting yourself in that bracket, because as corporates, we as managers talk about, we as a team need to achieve this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about inclusivity. You come out into the online world space and it can't be like that. You need to be leading from the front. So knowing your ideal client, having that assertive language in the words that you're using, and understanding that different people buy from different angles and for different reasons, you can't go wrong when it comes to making sales from your socials.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. Amy, where can people come find you? Like, if they want to come check out more of your content, maybe they want to come work with you, where can they come find you, babe?
I am on Instagram the most, so at the Femtrepreneur, but I also have a free Facebook community, which I'll send the link to you so you can pop it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll definitely put everything in the show notes, guys, don't worry.
It's called Make Sales from Social Media, something like that. I mean, that I should fucking know the name, shouldn't I? But I don't. And in there, I go live regularly. Literally, so if you've got a question, pop your question in that group and I will answer. That's literally what I do in that group. So I want to make sure that anybody who wants help but doesn't necessarily want to pay for it, or they just want to understand how I work, go and join that Facebook group. I'll answer your questions there and you can learn a little bit more about me and what it is that I do.
Amazing, guys. I really, really obviously recommend you go do that. Go follow Amy, go steal all her tips, go support her on social media and go join that Facebook group as well. And also just remember to just show up authentically, unapologetically as yourself. Amy, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited, not only just obviously for this podcast, but we will get to see you live at the Big Business Breakthrough event, doing your thing, 8th of June in London. And as I said, guys, you're probably listening to this now and, the event has long gone. So get yourselves booked on for the 2027 event. If this episode has hit home today, then you know what you need to do. Give it a little like, give Amy a follow, share it with somebody as well, share it with a business bestie that you know this is going to help as well. And also, if you are ready to stop trying to do everything alone, then this is exactly what we do inside the Business by Design community, which is my community for business women who are ready to unfuck their flow and take action. So you can drop me a DM or check the show notes below and we will help you. So if this episode has helped you, obviously don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.